morning, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. This is our first monthly webinar of 2024. So hopefully everybody had a good end of the 2023 year. Hopefully everybody holidays was pretty good, cheerful, enjoyed everything. And you are in gear to lose that 10 pounds from all of the food that you probably had over the holidays, right? And that New Year's resolution has already started to kick in. But as always, guys, my name is Philip Graves. I'm your host on today. Also with me is the E-Construction Group. We normally have Les Fletcher, who's on, as well as a few others like Kevin Barbier and those from headquarters, okay? So today we have actually some good things out there for you guys. On last month, you ended off on a good note with some good discussions around traffic control, as well as my good friend Casey was able to take over the meeting for me and walk you guys through. So we want to go ahead and continue that success going into 2024. Without further ado, though, I'll ask Casey, do you want to kind of talk to everyone before we kind of get started?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here kicking off the first webinar of 2024 with everybody. Looking to see what Phil and Les have in store for everyone today.
Awesome. Awesome. That's good. Thank you, Casey. I appreciate it. Les is not on at this moment, but we do have, I think he's joining on right now. Hey, Les.
Good morning, everybody.
So I just went on ahead. If you had any words to say, I just went on ahead and made an introduction to everybody, letting them know we appreciate them starting off the new year. Hopefully everybody had a good end of the 2023. But I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Les, if you had anything for them.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. And, hopefully we can continue on with this. And I'm very thankful that we had a whole year of doing these webinars and newsletters, and really hopeful that that has been good for everyone and at least somewhat helpful. So again, I know we've said this a lot, but if you guys have ideas of stuff you want to see in training videos or want us to cover in webinars, any of that kind of stuff, please send it over to us, because we're, Phil and I struggle every month trying to come up with something to talk about. So you guys let us know.
Yes, yes. We would love to hear more about what you guys need out there in the field, as well as things that would be beneficial and helpful to you all the time. So make sure you send that over to us. Me and Les both love to create that material, as well as find out those different things that could be beneficial to help you guys out. So as we normally do, we're not going to change much this new year, besides give you guys some new demonstrations and also include some others to be able to speak on some of these webinars. We're going to always start off with our roundtable. So I want to just go ahead and open it up to anybody if they have any questions related to Headlight or any e-construction a technology piece that's in play for LADOTD. Feel free to go ahead and ask those questions now. You can actually ask that question out loud, as well as you can also drop those inside of the chat. So feel free, go ahead. Nobody have anything? Do we have any new projects brewing up from the weather on yesterday? I know across Louisiana, everybody experienced a little different piece of weather. So did anything happen, any projects, anything that Headlight might can solve for some of those things that occurred on yesterday? I know for me, I was out of internet for a little while, as well as pretty much spent the whole day under tornado watch. So don't know about everybody else out there, but
I know I saw an email come through about how people should code their time if they're working emergency situations. So there must be something going on somewhere. So, if any of you all are called out to work some project due to the weather and you need a quick project set up in Headlight, there's a forum for that. Actually, it's one of the things I had planned on talking about today. I thought trying to come up with something to talk about. I thought it's a new year. Maybe it's a good time to go over like standard procedures and kind of what we do to get help from Headlight or even e-construction. So yeah, send those over.
Yes, that's a great point that you make, Les, in regards to creating projects for whatever you guys may need. A lot of times, I think people get caught up in the fact that it's only federal projects that are able to be inside of Headlight, and that's not necessarily true. We can actually create a project for you guys at any time for anything that you guys might be dealing with. Maybe it's a repair to one of the offices or anything like that that you guys want to document and make sure that we keep on record everything that took place in that, we can create those projects for you quickly. Some of the districts that had, hurricane damage and stuff like that, they're familiar with the process of quickly creating them a project where we can capture debris, anything like that on the roads, or any kind of work situation that you guys might want to capture, we can do that. So don't feel like it's only federal projects that you guys can have inside a Headlight. It could be anything that your unit is monitoring, watching, or observing. Anybody had any questions that they brought to the meeting on today? Anything that they would like to ask? If we don't, we'll go ahead and move into our demonstration segment part of today's monthly webinar.
Hey, Phil, I
Yep.
wanted to ask if anybody else, I know Jimmy had been working on a project closeout, but I wonder if anybody else has been working on that. Like a project you have in Headlight that you're getting ready to start putting the ATM or the 2059 together. I did have a call, and it's been a couple weeks ago now, someone who was doing that. So I'm gonna try to put together some kind of training on that. I think when we even have a recorded call when we spoke to Jimmy about it, and I think that some of that information would be good to share out. So maybe I'll start putting that together, but just wondering if anybody else had that going on, needing help on it. Philip and I are always willing to jump on a Zoom call separate to go over that as well. So just know you have help there if you're entering that phase of a project.
Awesome. So we
I've
have,
got,
well, who's that?
This is Terry Cormier.
Hey, Terry.
I've got a question about the difference between headlights and site manager. When you're accepting rebars, I guess based on mill reports. For your 2059, if you're just using headlights, are you supposed to show that in materials?
So Terry, it sounds like the question you have there is, are you supposed to just show the documentation in Headlight? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
So yes, so what we typically do there is you're going to want to create a sample ID in materials. And hopefully they have the right thing there listed for you guys. I know this CMAR project is throwing a lot of curves at us and their materials that we don't normally have. And so you set it up with that material code, and there's a test that LADOTD uses, and I think that there's one for consultant side. It might even be the same one. It's called Field Global. And so you choose the material that you're doing, and you can assign it to a line item. That's good because that'll show up in the 2059. And then you assign the test Field Global to it, and it goes to an automatic pass. It's basically like you saying, I put my eyes on this, I collected the paperwork for this. It's a visual sample. I know we all have heard that term before. And that represents that visual sample. And then we create a form, supporting image form or sample test result form, and we attach that. And I'll tell you what, let's go ahead, and I'm gonna go ahead and share.
Okay. I didn't hear you mention anything about the AML. And I know there's a actual list on AML showing all the bar markings. Is that something you need to include in your paperwork?
So it's something, I know that when we do, so y'all are just using the mill report, you said? So we used to get a, what was it, a CA that was for the steel, I believe. Is that right? So one of the people who's still out in the field maybe can help me out with that.
Yeah, you get a CA for it.
Yeah. So Terry, are you guys getting the certificate of analysis of that steel? I lost him. Anyway, I want to share because let's go over this because I think it's something that
Yeah, it does say that in the sampling plan.
Okay, so move some of this stuff out of my way. Trying to think of a good example. I guess I can do this on the test project. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time because the internet is super slow today. I think maybe the weather has some of the bandwidth knocked out. So test project, let me see if I can do a steel sample here. Of course, I always just jump into this, not really having planned it out. So, okay, so here's the normal one we would use, Terry, is this acceptance of reinforcing steel of any size.
Okay,
Basically a generic one for steel. And you can choose producers, but there's also, if the specific producer is not listed, almost all the time I would just choose contractor supplied. It's the most common thing that we do. And then you don't even have to, there are some products here that you could use, but we don't even really go into that most of the
Okay.
time. Maybe if you recognize it, you can do that. But a lot of these if you notice, a lot of these product numbers, you don't even really know what this is. You don't, maybe if you see dial bars, you would know, okay, I have a dial bar and this says dial bar at the end, but we don't know what most of this stuff is. So a lot of us skip that part. Jimmy, you got something?
Yeah, a lot of that, if you're going to pick a specific bar or whatever, usually that's when you're sending a sample in.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. When you're sending a specific sample into the lab, you're choosing specific things, but because this goes to, it's basically just for your 2059 records and it's just going to your unit, you really don't have to get specific. So you got the acceptance, any size, contractor supplied. Yeah, there actually is some line items here. You'll have to make sure that there's a line item attached in your sample plan. So let's just choose, this is an old one, but let's just choose a class A. And then for destination lab, I think you all are using the DB lab. So what we would normally do is choose what district and unit we're in. So it's not a physical lab, it's actually the unit lab, like you're sending it to yourself, if that makes sense. But for you all, I think that it would be the DB lab.
okay,
And then choose test. This FLD GLB, that means field global. So this is just a generic test. And when you assign this test, let's see, I'm on the test project. I just want to make sure I'm not editing a live project here. And when I save this sample, it's going to go to an automatic pass on the 2059 for this project. This sample will now show up. And so that's all it takes to get a passing sample on there. But then there's another step that goes with that to add the paperwork and the documentation that you need to have. And that's here, create form. And of course, this is all going to be, on the next webinar YouTube. So you don't have to memorize all this. That's one reason why I try to demonstrate while we're on here. And so there's a couple options. There's this supporting image form, which is the most standard we use, but sample test result is really great. And the difference in them, supporting image forms, you can upload an image of a CA or CD, whatever. In this case, it'd be the CA. And then, so you're just kind of taking a picture of it. Well, that's fine if you only have 1 or 2 pages, but if you have, 20 pages of stuff, you don't want to take all those different pictures. The sample test result usually works the best. You can rename it or it just generates a name for you. And we're going to hit create. And it's gonna take us to this form. It's very simple to fill this out. It's not much to it, it's just a couple of lines. And so you can see that it already has all of the project information that you entered into the sample ID. You can select the test that you chose and pass. This currently does not really go anywhere. I will say it might be good to go ahead and put this passing result in there just because I feel like before you guys are done with that huge project, this will probably be in place and be ready to use. So I would go ahead and mark those as passed. You can enter remarks here. So if there's anything you need to say about the material or whatever, you can add that here. This remarks is more along the lines of if you were communicating back and forth with the project engineer or inspector on the project, that's what these remarks are for. It's kind of like a conversation, like a side conversation. And you can review these, but that you don't necessarily have to do those right now. And then this gives you two options. You can add an image or add a file. So if you have a PDF that shows, that has 30 pages in a CA for steel, you can just add the file, drop your PDF, and let me click on it so you see what it looks like. And it also gives you another description field. Add a file, drop one in it, and you're done. Save, you save complete. And once you do that, you can save the form here, and then that actually let me do this because you need to see what it looks like on let's see what I got. This is a picture. Here we go, the DC. So
Okay, well, Les, that makes sense. I mean, and I think I have done that before for rebar.
yeah, I think so.
Okay, and now I have a little bit different. I now have a rebar splice, and I could not find it would not show any kind of form for a test report.
So you're talking about this supporting image
For
form?
well, it's still a rebar, but it's got a mechanical coupler.
Mhm.
And I could, when I tried to do like a
Sample ID.
form for, I did the ID, and the ID I did, you remember I was telling you I was selecting a 14 by 14
Mhm.
D 250 bar lock coupler.
Yep.
And it kept reverting back to the 9 by 9. And I don't know why, but
So I have looked at that since we talked this morning, and let me finish this up. And then
okay,
I'll briefly tell you what I think might be going on there. So
okay,
the one thing I've noticed, just for everybody on here, the one thing I've noticed is this never stops saying file being uploaded. Just know that it's already attached. Just probably one little bug in the system that where it says it's there. All you're waiting for is for it to show up here. As long as it shows up here, your form is good. Feel like I'm not doing something because it's not giving me a save sign. Phil, you might have to help me out. Let's see. All that's filled out.
No problem.
I don't know why it's not giving me the save on this one. Oh, well.
Yeah, I don't.
Do I need to submit? I don't think I need to submit.
Yeah, you just filled it all out.
Maybe I'll tell you what I bet it is. So and this is, I'm glad this actually came up on the webinar because it probably needs to be said. So uploading a file, and I'm sorry, you do not have to submit this, but when you upload a file, the form does not think that you're editing it. So editing the form, it just sees the file. So you need to put something in the remarks, even if you just type a period here. When you type something in here, the form says, okay, I'm being edited, and gives you the save sign. So just something you need to think about.
Yeah.
All right, so now we've saved it and we can go back to the sample. And Terry, you'll see here, so now my form is attached to this sample ID, and that will be combined on the 2059. So now you have a passing sample of that.
right,
Now,
that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, now I want to go back to Terry's other thought about, let me see if I can filter. 4100. Sorry, everybody else is just having to listen along here, but this is important and it really pertains to everybody. So Phil, this might be something that we might have to create a ticket on. So on the EWP job, the 3R project, Terry has created these sample IDs with this butt splice material code. And the product he is selecting is, I'm going to go to edit. And so there's a product here for a 14 by 14 bar lock coupe. That's a coupler, I guess. So the 14 by 14, and you can save this and it will show 14 by 14 when you save it. And you can see where I went in a little while ago and at 9 o'clock and I edited this. I've changed it to 14 by 14. The sample always reverts back to a 9 by 9. So I'm not saying this may not be Headlight's issue. Terry, one thing I found is that Site Manager, when this sample synced over to Site Manager has 9 by 9. And so what I think is happening is when you edit the sample here as a 14 by 14, it takes a little while until the sync adapter runs again. And that sync adapter sees that Site Manager says 9 by 9. And since Site Manager is our standard system of record, it reverts this product back to a 9 by 9 because that's what Site Manager says. Now, I know you guys are not using Site Manager, but there is a project tied to your CMAR project in Site Manager, just so we get all of that stuff off the AML here. So just real quick.
As soon as you close it and go back in, it'll revert back to
That's right. So I edited earlier, and if you notice, it had already reverted back.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
So that's correct. It does revert back, and I think the reason is because Site Manager already sees that 9 by 9.
Is that something that can be fixed?
So maybe can be edited in Site Manager. I'm gonna have to get somebody else besides me. It might even have to be edited in the database. That can be fixed. But for your new samples today, when you create them, don't clone this sample. Start fresh on, or whenever you go in to create the 8 new ones that you have.
Yeah, I've got 8 more to go. So you're saying don't clone, just make each individual one.
Well, so at least on the first one, don't clone it. Start fresh with a new sample, choose this material code and choose 14 by 14. And wait a little while and send me that sample ID so I can take a look at it before you create the other one. So I want to take a look at it and make sure everything looks
okay.
Site Manager.
All right.
All right. That was long-winded. Hope everybody at least got something out of it because that was a lot. I think that anytime we go over something with materials, it's beneficial for everybody because that's kind of that's our biggest. I don't want to call it a headache. It's just a big learning curve switching over to that.
Yes, and I would also say that there are a good bit of changes that are happening on that side. So having these kind of conversations and being able to inform you guys of the latest news in regards to some of those processes, as well as alternatives to be able to solve those issues you might experience in the material side is very important. So thank you for that lesson, carving out that time. Now we go ahead and move into the demonstration segment of things. Les, did you want to go first, or did you want me to go ahead and tackle what I have first?
Well, why don't you go ahead and do yours first? It seemed like it was going to wouldn't take very long to do that health thing, right? Yeah,
no.
Let's go ahead and do that.
All right, let me go ahead and actually share my screen. Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. All righty, so what I want to go ahead and go over is, I know everybody has been business as usual, going on their projects and doing their daily routine, but there were some updates that actually happened inside of the Fieldbook app, okay? Some of those updates were very minor, where it doesn't disturb anything or change anything for you guys on a daily basis, but then there were some others that actually play a major part in what you guys do, as well as some of the things that we actually experience on a daily basis. So what I want to do is bring you guys' attention to the top right corner of the Headlight Fieldbook app. You'll notice where we used to have only 2 icons actually appear in the top right, which would be your initials. that would give you your main action links, so to speak, when it comes down to switching to night shifts, trying to sync, or send log data to support or email support. And last but not least, logging out. However, we used to have right to the left of the initials icon, you used to have where you would be able to see that little cloud, right? And that cloud would show if you had internet connection, if you didn't have internet connection, also the process of syncing. Well, things have changed. We have now added a new icon to that. And we also have updated that little cloud to reflect documents being uploaded, okay? So now that cloud has turned into where you would see an arrow pointing up with papers, just showing that that document is either sent. And it'll also actually, when you sync it, it'll also show the clockwise arrows following each other, letting you know that documentation is being synced at that moment, okay? So now that's the new update. Now, lastly, we have the one that I really want to spend time showing you guys. It's this little globe that you actually see here. And you're probably wondering, what is that? How does it benefit me? When will it come into play? Well, this little globe right here is called the wireless health icon, okay? It gives you an idea of how fast the system is responding, how quickly it's responding, ultimately determining how good is your internet connection at the moment. As you guys may have just quickly seen on my screen, it made some adjustments. Anything below 2 seconds response time to your actions or downloading information is rather quick, and it's also good internet health. If you find yourself between that 2 and 3 second period of time, it's not so bad, but at the same time, you might want to start looking at ways to go offline or something like that if you're experiencing that. Anything 3 seconds or longer means that you're struggling to have internet, and it's probably better for you to work offline. Now, you probably say, well, Phil, I have to log out, I have to log back in order for me to be able to go offline. Well, that has since changed, okay? Now you guys have the ability where you can see here at the bottom where it has an auto, where it will determine based off of the response time to put you in offline mode, allowing you to be able to still capture observations, allowing you to be able to still do what you need to do and not have to worry about logging out and logging back in, and if that information saved. Now, if you find yourself struggling in that 2 to 3 second mark and you say, hey, it would probably just be better if I worked offline, you can manually come in here and put yourself in offline mode, okay? However, I think it's very good to make sure that you guys are in auto because it would actually determine that for you. But this solves an issue that we've seen across the board where many users go out. You're working in an area, you might have started off with internet connection, and then later on you find yourself in a dead spot or area where there's not much wireless internet or internet cellular data. And you need to go in offline mode where it will automatically do this for you, allowing you to still be able to capture your work, not worrying about logging out or logging back in, okay? So I wanted to go over this today rather quickly and show you guys how this works. And also you can see as I keep mines up, you can see the adjustments being made over time of letting me know how quickly it responds, how quickly it's actually retrieving and pulling data from the cloud, okay? You could look at this over a 30-minute interval, a 15-minute interval, an hour, but even a full day to find out what is my wireless health, how is my cellular reception on the project that I'm working on, in the area that I'm working in, how are things going, just in case that's something of interest for you. But like I said, the biggest beauty of it all is that it automatically syncs you guys from online to offline, where you don't have to take a few seconds out your day or worry about the information. It automatically syncs for you. So hopefully this is beneficial to everyone. I just wanted to point it out. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat as we go into our next demonstration, or if you want to find out more about it, or how, if you're not seeing it, how to be able to get that on your iPad. Les, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thanks, Philip. And I want to make sure everybody doesn't overlook this. This is a huge upgrade. Like just from being a field inspector, I can tell you, I would have loved to have had that when we were out in the field because, and even from my time here at headquarters, I would probably say that 70 to 80% of all problems that you're having, your field inspectors are having in the, with headlight, probably have to do with the cellular data in the field. And if the app is automatically switching back and forth for you, your user experience is going to be much better with the app. And hopefully you guys are experiencing that already. So thanks, Philip. I appreciate that. Thanks for explaining it to everybody and kind of what it does.
No problem.
So when I was thinking, actually yesterday while I was off, I was like, I have not picked a topic to talk about. But one thing that's been happening lately, a lot of the stuff I've been getting is like, hey, I got a new employee. What do I do? How do they get headlight? This kind of stuff, just procedural stuff. Lots of, hey, what do I do? I need to get my iPad charger broke, that kind of thing. And, most of what the steps are for that. But, like I said, it's a new year. I think it's a good time to go over that and kind of update the procedures. And this might even be something Phil and Casey, might hop in on and say, hey, we might have changed that already, because even sometimes I don't know the most current thing. But I'm going to share my screen. I did open up a couple of tabs to look at. We're not going to start with, well, let's start with this. So let's start with some of the DOTD like registration stuff. So when you get a new employee, one of the first steps you have to take is getting them a site manager, getting them access to site manager, right? And actually, this happened this morning. Someone emailed me. They emailed me yesterday. I responded this morning. They were like, okay, what do I need to do? I said, well, first thing you need to do is get a site manager, get site manager access for your new employee. And then I sent them the wrong link. I actually had to go to one of my coworkers, Donna, and ask her if she knew what the right link was. So I was sending them to this one, which you can get if you go to the DOTD website. And this is great for the consultants we have on the job. On the call today. This is what consultants do. So they go inside LADOTD, and I'm just going to click through these so you can kind of see where it's at. Construction services, and then right here, the LADOTD system registration, which is going to open up this same tab I had open. And so the consultants or outside entities, not just consultants. I think this is also for like city of Baton Rouge, or your municipalities. Those kind of things can sign up for site manager access here if they have a project in their area. Fill out this form. It goes to our site manager admin group, and then that account gets created. And then for LADOTD, so I sent that wrong link to somebody this morning, but for LADOTD, you go to the intranet page. We're going to go to site manager construction, and then site manager access right here. So there's a form to fill out. This is for internal. Fill this out, and this goes to the same group. So that is how to get access to site manager. So another thing is like, what do I do if I need help with site manager? And so I wanted to share that. I'm gonna open a new email because I can never remember these email addresses. Let's see, what is it? Site manager admin. That's not even right. I'm gonna have to copy it from over here. I'm actually on this group and I can never remember what the email address is. All right. So let me copy and paste it in here, maybe. Okay, so DOTD SM admin, this is for your construction questions, or when you need help with that. And then we also have another one that is for materials. I'm going to put it here. I'm not actually sending an email. I'm just going to show it here. So DOTD-SMM admin. So this is for anything with site manager materials. So these are two good email addresses to keep. You can actually search these, but like I said, they're really hard to find in our DOTD search. That's why I wanted to kind of share that here. But this is the group that gets all of the, if you submit a request for site manager access, this is the person that gets them, or actually group of people that gets that. So we're not going to save that. I just wanted to show everybody. And like I said, this is probably repetitive for most of you, but just a good time to go over it. Okay, no, not going to start with that one. Let's start with the headlight forms. So you get new users, you break iPads, you get, you lose car chargers, that kind of thing. What do? So you're going to need to have this link. I'm going to drop this in the chat. If I can find the chat. Send this out. So this is a good link to save. I actually have it favorited on my Chrome browser. And there are several forms here. And this is not just LADOTD. This is for contractors, consultant inspector groups. So pretty much everybody has something in here. The LADOTD project import request form. So this is to get projects added in Headlight. So when you have a project that is coming to Site Manager and you need to get it added to your unit's Headlight profile, this would be the form you use, and it's very key to remember this right here. So there's a 2-week lead time. Now, I will say Headlight almost never takes 2 weeks, but they do have to have a developer go in and add these projects currently. So something you need to think about. We need to make sure we're not waiting till we're in the assembly period and then, trying to call or email saying, hey, I need this done today, because it does take some time for Headlight to get that added. Believe it or not, Philip and I have come up with a new system that is going on in the background, and you guys continue doing what you're doing here, requesting your projects just the same way you have been. But Phil and I actually find out about the projects much earlier now. And so Phil, I send it over to Phil, and Phil kind of gets this process started on Headlight's end. And so hopefully you guys are already seeing increased response times of getting these projects added. And, I'm hoping that's helping you guys out. So, and again, these are very simple forms. I do want to open one and show you a couple things because they're very generic. And so sometimes when you go to fill these forms out, something's not exactly right. And I'll give you an example. If you have something here where it says unit, but say this is a project for, maybe LPA or something like that, that wouldn't be a good one. Maybe just like a generic project, maybe you don't have a unit, maybe you work at headquarters, and so you don't have this specific unit. Anytime something unexpected comes like that, every one of these forms has an additional comment in the project. Just make something up, throw it in there, and then add in the comments what's really going on. Somebody, actual human at Headlight gets this form and they actually look through it, so they will read your comments and be able to distinguish what's going on there. And if they don't, they will email you and say, hey, I need some more understanding of what is going on here. Can you give me some more details? Just a real quick tip, because this happens a lot. I've seen lots of people try to go fill out these, especially new user setup forms. They fill these out and something just doesn't seem exactly right. Like this is a good example because headquarters is not listed here. It's only units. And so, districts and units. And so sometimes that's not right. Sometimes you just have to pick one and then go in the comments and say exactly what you're trying to get done there. But this form, the LADOTD new user setup and device request, if you get a new employee in your office, you have a new inspector, this is where you would go very specifically though, after they have a site manager account. Headlight cannot set somebody up without a site manager account. So that has to be done first. So, you fill this out, new devices. So one of the things you need to be thinking about is if you have a person leave, right, you collect their iPad, what should you do when you collect that iPad? You should come here and you should do a device transfer. You'll put that device ID in here and then just put the device in the PE's name, right? And then when you get a new person and you're filling out this, you do the device transfer and then you transfer it from the PE back to the new user. And you might say, okay, that sounds like a lot of work. Why do I have to do that? Why can't I just keep it? Well, over the years, the list of iPads, it really got out of whack. And so Headlight has done a lot of work recently to kind of reconcile that device list. And I think we have a pretty solid list of who has what devices, but obviously we have people that come and go almost every day here at LADOTD across the state. And I know because I keep a user database of them. And so those devices getting transferred around is kind of hard to keep up with them. And so this is the system in place to transfer those device IDs into a current DOTD employee's name. Hopefully somebody that only has one, but that's why I say the PE, because everybody will kind of recognize that PE might have a few more devices if they have people not in their unit, right, that have left. This is also the form you'll use if you have, let's see, is this the one for damage as well? Philip, you might have to help me out with that one. I believe it is. Let's see.
The
Oh,
question.
I'm sorry, it's the next one. It's
Oh, okay.
So this is the new user setup and device request. This would be if you have a new employee and you don't have an additional device, you can get one here. There is a comment here, individual device requests require a 3-week lead time. That is not really current, so that's kind of an old system. So Les gets to keep a stack of iPads here to get those out to you guys just a little bit faster. So when you fill this out, it goes to Headlight. Headlight writes up a nice email to me and say, hey, this person requested it. And then we actually mail it out through our interdepartmental mail system. Some of you may have already gotten one, through that system. And so it just really sped this up because it was a lot. Obviously, 3 weeks to get an iPad, well, you had to come from Seattle, where Headlight is located, and getting that to you. And so it was a longer process. I think we've kind of cleaned that up and it's much better now.
Got some more for you too, Les.
Yeah, good, because I'm actually charging up my last one. So
Yeah.
to go out this week. That's great to hear. So LADOT damaged equipment, return and replace. So I get emails quite often. Hey, we got 3 or 4 chargers that broke. What do we do? And so this would be, in this forms link, there is this damaged equipment return. So if you have something, an accessory that broke or an iPad that broke, this would be the form you use for that. Very, very good to have this link stored on your computer because that happens. I will say we've been doing pretty good, I feel like, with damaged devices. Like I might have changed out, I don't know, maybe there was a lot at the beginning of last year, but then throughout the rest of the year, I felt like it got much better and we didn't have to replace a whole lot of devices. LADOTD contract with Headlight gives us a 10% damage iPad leeway. So we can damage up to, I think, 60 devices and they switch them out, kind of with the contract. Anything above that, and we'd probably have to start paying for them. So, but I feel like we've been doing pretty good. Actually, I can tell you one thing that we actually instituted last year. I'll just share this with everybody so you know what's kind of going on in the background. I like to be open. Oh, look, I was already on it this morning. So I created an LADOTD iPad documentation project. And so every iPad, every accessory that gets sent out, anything that you all request comes through me, gets uploaded to this, and I even keep spreadsheet observations. So if we want to know, in the past several months, let's go back to September 1st to January 1st, there were 51 replacements. And then this is the beauty of Headlight, right? We can actually see how many new user iPads So we had 7 new user iPads that, happened in that time. So just to give you a little background information on what's going on and how we're tracking that, this helps us keep up with it.
Les, that's really impressive.
Thanks. You didn't know about that, Casey?
No, I hadn't seen that before. I love that.
I suggest doing that with your clients.
Yeah, I honestly might.
So LED, and we kind of discussed this early on in the webinar, is the non-site manager. So if you want to create a project in Headlight for whatever reason, this LADOTD non-site manager project request form, this would be something where Phil actually would probably be the one that would go in and create this project for you. This could be, maybe if your unit needed a project just to store, whatever. I know we've done that in the past where there's a unit project, or there is a project that is a district lit project that's not going to be tied to site manager. This would be the form you use, not the LADOT project import request form. You would actually use the one that's a non-site manager. So super simple. They don't have to tie it together. Phil creates the project and he can go in and drop, I think you have to drop the concatenated, labels and stuff in and, set that up. And so pretty easy process there. And then storm recovery. So if we have a hurricane, Headlight has gotten some really cool tools for us to document all of that stuff. I don't know if you guys have seen some of those hurricane projects, but they were really great and very useful last time we did it. In fact, let's show everybody. We've got a few minutes left. We don't want to give anybody any time to talk, right? We'll finish this out.
Take it away, Les.
Oh, hurricane.
Yeah, I think
This actually, the data we get from this is actually really great because you just type in hurricane, and so you go back to Ida, and there's some Laura stuff, individual gangs, and what people were capturing there. Let's just look at the item. This was not what I was planning on showing today, but I think it's very useful, for everybody to kind of see. So, we're documenting all this stuff in Headlight, and we have images of things that happened, and this is great for reimbursement from FHWA. When we have a disaster like this, one of the cool things we have is Headlight has a report for us here at headquarters. And so you can actually pull up that report and see where the damage happened. It's almost like a graph for you using Tableau. And so that's been really great. You can actually see where most of the damage is. Really great to zoom in on that. And like I said, if we got to build reports and stuff to get reimbursed for hurricanes, this is a great way to do it. So just so you know, this is out there and available if you have a big storm come through. All right, so I think that about wraps it up for some of these standard procedures, unless somebody has a question. Like, hey, I need to know how to do this particular thing. Like, what's the steps for that? You're welcome to ask, and I will try my best to answer. Oh, I missed one. Sorry, app payload request. Here's another link. I'll drop it in the chat. If you are in the field and you have a app that you think would be useful and it's a free app, we currently do not do paid apps, but if it's a free app that you think would be useful, you can request it here. And what happens is you fill out this, send it, Headlight gets it, they send it to, I believe Patrick is our point person on this now, and he will approve or reject, or he might send it to me and ask me what my recommendation is. The only thing
Oh, you came back.
the only thing that we look at here, like the main thing we look at is it going to be a big data hog? That's the only thing, is because we still have that 2 gigabyte data limit. So we look at that, and as long as that's good and the app seems to work well, we approve it. So just know that that's a resource for you as well.
And just to add on that, Les, if you guys come across an app that does require payment, it doesn't mean that you can't suggest it to us. You can always suggest those, and we can review those as a group, Headlight and LADOTD. And if that app costs, maybe there's something that we can work on. But if the benefit is huge, then I'm pretty sure we'll consider it as a whole and see what we can work out with that specific app maker. So still recommend anything that you find beneficial. Most paid apps do have like a trial period, or they do offer a way for you to test out the software. And if you do think that is good, you can always recommend it to us and we'll test it out on our end to see how it checks off those benefits and how we can incorporate it in the process.
That's a great call out, Phil. Thanks for saying that. Yes, even if it's a paid app, please send it to us so we can look at it. If it would be beneficial for the whole state, we generally will try to find the money for it somewhere. We have gotten several requests there's a pile driving app that's out there, and it actually counts blows just like a saxometer. But I will say we have denied that app across the state. We actually tried it out, me and one of the other inspectors I used to work with, and it just was not accurate enough. And then besides that, it was created by an individual person, not a company. It was some probably super smart engineer somewhere that created this app, and they have since stopped supporting it. And so, if you get a rejection, it's just kind of the way it is. Sometimes the apps are just not that great. But don't let that stop you from suggesting. Like, if you have something that you see could be valuable to us, let us know about it.
Thanks, Les. Did you have anything else that you wanted to show or share?
The one other thing that I have written down here on my list is that Philip and I are meeting this week with the district trainers. We have a meeting planned. They have had some interest in maybe like district training of headlight. And so we're trying to dive in and see what they're looking for there. Hopefully that will be beneficial to everybody. We definitely want to get them involved in the process so that we have, just one more resource for you all. But we're looking forward to that this week.
Awesome. Thank you. As always, guys, you hear it constantly as we speak out in these webinars, as well as the Q&A sessions and training, that your feedback is important. I'm going to constantly preach that until you guys really feel comfortable enough to spit out any and everything to us all the time, because your feedback, we take it, we dissect it, we put it into action, and it's very important that you guys constantly deliver that to us, no matter what it is. You have multiple resources to be able to give that to us. You have Les and I who are always willing to accept that feedback, and then we kind of take it from there, and we make sure the appropriate party that can help us solve for it is available. Casey has been great too, coming along, just taking some of that feedback. We have also enlisted the services of our customer success associate, Aiden, who's now on this call, that can assist with some of those things that are device specific related. And then you have other resources out there where our support team will capture that information and they will filter that information out to the parties that can help you guys. So you have many resources. You also have the academy that's at your fingertips. We want you guys to utilize this, and we want you guys to provide us as much and as often as possible feedback in regards to your daily usage, as well as things that will help you out or you feel like could be very beneficial as technology ramps up all around us all the time. So feel free to give us those things at your leisure, so that way we can kind of dive into those. Additionally, what I would like to also tell you guys is I thank you guys for carving out the time on today. It's always a huge benefit to have you guys on this call. Make sure you invite as many as possible who are available. We do have a recording that's also available on the LADOTD's construction YouTube page, where you can tell people to find out information and dive into any of that information on there as well. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of leave you guys with that note. I'll go ahead and pass it back over to you, Les, if you had anything else that you would like to add.
I think that was about it for me. Also, I don't know if he's still on, but I also saw Hall Hub's Alex Richardson was on here earlier, and I just want to briefly mention they have some really cool stuff coming out, or that actually just dropped. Hopefully I can get with him and maybe we can share some of that in the newsletter next month. I hope you all saw In the e-construction section of the newsletter, there's a couple new apps we're trying out. They're really neat. But Hall Hub's got some great stuff going on with the CD. We actually were talking about this earlier, the CDs and CAs and that kind of stuff. So they are building an app where, or part of their app, that those things are uploaded from the supplier and they're like digitally available to you instead of having to like come with the shipment and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. Just some really great stuff. And also a lot of the things they're doing with actually like geotagging the equipment and that kind of stuff, really cool stuff. So hopefully we can share some of that with you next month.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate you, Hall Hop, for joining on this call. We always love to have guests. And if you want to kind of dive into that on the next monthly webinar, feel free to be able to dive into those. So thank you, everybody. And we appreciate you once again for joining. Take care.